So the next step was to work on the apron. Here I'm setting up the table saw to cut grooves in the aprons for the table clips that will include stopped grooves for the short aprons. Each leg is going to be 4.5 inches from the outside. So I can just check that with a square. A little dry fit here. Well, not really a dry fit, sort of a rough idea about what things are going to look like. I know you're never supposed to turn your back to the camera, but in a small shop, there's sometimes only so much space. So what can you do, eh? These stretchers are going to be about 2.5 inches in from the leg, which works out to 10 inches from the side of the table. So we got plenty of knee room here. You can cross your legs without bumping into anything. Once I get the rest of it set up, I'll check the length so that this is the exact length. Have all the grooves cut. Oh, this one's upside down. The end rails are going to be curved. That's why they're taller than these. These are going to curve down 1.5 inches lower in the middle. And now I can get a look at what it's going to look like. Next step to be drilling some mortise holes, or dowel holes in this case. Here I'm drilling the dowel holes for attaching the long rails to the face of the short rails. This is why the short rails need to be thicker than the other rails, so that there's more room for the joinery. And here I'm using the standard method of using a springy stick in order to draw the arc for the curve that I want to cut out in the short rails. And I wanted to sand a bit of that paint off before starting the glue up process. You know, I wasn't even sure we needed that center rail there in the apron, but then as I'm doing this I discovered I didn't actually have a clamp that was long enough to reach all the way across, so the center rail turned out to be really handy since I could use it carefully with some shorter clamps. And I'm first sanding some of the hard to reach spots and the tight little corners before I pull out the random orbit sander and do the final sanding on the frame before it's time to prime and paint. I learned from John Heiss's channel how you can use acetone to transfer a laser printout to your project, so I'm using that to sign the bottom of my table. So what do you think? I had a lot of fun building it. I think it turned out beautiful and I'm really looking forward to putting it into my kitchen. I can't do that just yet though because it's not quite finished. The legs are finished, they're painted, the apron's painted, the top is shellacked. What it's missing is lacquer. I wanted to put a lacquer finish on this and I can't spray inside, I don't have the ventilation, so I have a can of brushing lacquer. It stinks like you wouldn't believe, and it'll smell up the house for like 4 days. So I really need it to warm up so that I can do that in the garage. But basically the table's finished.